I'm Van.
I'm Sori.
That's Booby.
And Colby and Chip.
There's respect the Booby hashtag going. I think Kyrie started it.
Oh my gosh.
Patreon pick by the
True Cult.
The True Cult Patreon Alliance group. You can join the cult for $1 Patreon, and then I can get you hooked up with the big homie Damon Sage. True Cult is about black metal. It's like straight up black metal, none of that flooziness. Straight up black metal.
No
True
punk
Cult.
metal over there.
Yeah. I don't know how they do it over there. If you want to check out timely topical political commentary, check me out at Middle of America with Vin and Sori, or
Behind the scenes with our family. Check out My Sori Life.
My Sori Life.
You can watch Sayla have her shot.
Gangsta Moments. This is Sigh, a great, very consistent band formed in 1999. They put out their 11th studio record just last year, and as always, the True Cult is set on introducing you guys to new and interesting music. The genre is avant-garde black metal. They're from Tokyo, Japan. We initially put the kibosh on this because the reason we haven't done baby metal or anything like that is because Japanese bands, record labels are notorious for actually giving you copyright strikes, right? So like when we do a song, 90% of the songs will get us demonetization, right? So it'll demonetize it so you can't make any money on it.
Right.
But a copyright strike is a penalty against you, and if you have 3 of those, they shut down your channel. Mm-hmm. So we've avoided baby metal and bands like that. We almost stopped this band, but they're actually signed onto Century Media Records, so we're going to roll the dice and take our chances with this band. Inshallah, nothing happens, but we're doing everything for the people. All right, let's go. Let's make it happen. Bring Back the Dead by Sigh. Go!
Go. This was a sad one.
What did he classify this as?
Advent or
avant-garde.
Yeah. Black metal.
Black metal. Okay, so it's still black metal.
This one was sad, huh?
It is extremely sad, but very honest.
Yeah.
And I wrote this song one time called Survivor's Guilt. But, I mean,
It's what's happening.
that's one of those unreleased songs that I've probably never actually released. You've never even heard that one.
No, I didn't know that.
So, yeah. So, I mean, this is, it seems to be about survivor's guilt and such. And it's the last song on the record. 11 is Bring Back the Dead. Mm-hmm. And the first one is Corpse Cry, Angel Fall. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I don't know, Requiem nostalgia. So it looks like this record is about Nietzschean conspiracy. See that there? Mm-hmm. So it seems to be this is about like trying to figure out life and death and how to deal with loss and all the rest of it. And it doesn't seem that there's any resolution at the end of the record because this is the last song and this is how they ended the record.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because when he was saying, he kept repeating over and over, bring back the dead, bring back the dead.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know, to me that was like, and I don't think that that's what his point was, is what I'm saying, but that there's this deep inner cry inside of him that's saying bring back the dead, and obviously Christian theology and doctrine is the dead do rise again.
Right.
You know, that,
right.
So that's coming from somewhere, you know?
Right.
That is a reality. But, I mean, obviously not like what he's wanting, but, it was really sad, and it was so honest. Yeah, I hear you. It was honest. Some of the things that he was saying, like, you know, the why wasn't it me living in a shadow of death? I wish it was a dream. Like all that stuff. Like, that's what people communicate. And I mean, I didn't, you know, like experience death like you have, but I've still experienced, you know, my grandmother dying and my uncle dying and stuff like that. So it's not like it's something that I have not experienced. And so on a small scale, that's, you know, I felt those things, but not like what other people describe.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. He says, I won't believe in salvation. I shouldn't be saved. I wait for my condemnation in the cold
Yeah,
flame.
he feels guilty about it.
Yeah. To a lot of people who survive the death or sudden death of a family member, especially if it's, you know, a preventable death like a suicide or something like that, which he talks about suicide a lot in this song.
Yeah.
But a lot of people feel really... And the other thing about when a person dies too is you think about every wrong thing you did to them.
Oh, yeah.
You know, every wrong thing you did, everything wrong thing you said, because you can't go back and smooth it out because they're gone. You know, so if you lose somebody in that type of situation, it gets compounded.
Yeah.
You know, because one is, you know, they're gone kind of without notice, and then two, it's like you get all this unfinished business that you really end up feeling like you want to be punished for it. Like you can't, like there's some situations where forgiving yourself is more difficult than being punished. Like some people.
Oh, yeah.
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 And you're
obviously.
Yeah. I'm not that guy. Because when I was younger, you know, like I was always punished, and I was always like trying to scheme to get out of the punishment, you know.
Yeah.
But people punish themselves, especially when death happens. You know, people punish themselves in a whole bunch of different ways when they're, you know. But what was unique to me about this song is he's saying, I won't believe in salvation. He's not saying I can't. Because a lot of people say,
that makes sense.
It's just too good to be true, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, he's not saying that. He doesn't think he deserves it. Like, it shouldn't even be, like, it shouldn't even be his. Like,
right.
So.
Right. And then it's watch the coward pray, unexpected destination, miserable slave. It's like people.
Yeah, who was he talking about when he said that?
I just think he's. I think there's some sort of religious heritage that this guy was probably raised in to some degree. And I don't really know much about Christianity in Japan, but you know, in the context of death and such, and punishment, and, you know, he uses the term salvation, which is sort of a Christian idea in this context, in this word grouping, you know. But it seems to me that there are other people who are responding to this tragedy by going deeper into their religion.
Yep.
Which is what happens a lot. If you're I always say, like, I don't really believe in the no atheists in foxhole thing.
Yeah.
Right? So I actually think that tragedies sometimes push people into deeper into whatever their base presuppositions are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so if you were a God-denying atheist and then a death happens, a lot of times it makes them say, see?
Right.
Right? Whereas if you are a God lover and a tragedy happens, you go, whoa, this is my only source of ultimate comfort, right?
Yep.
And so I think what's happening is this tragedy hits this family or group of friends or whatever, and he's saying he's not accepting any form of forgiveness from himself, from God, or whatever, but then he's seeing other people pray, and to him it's cowardly.
Oh, okay.
You know, because there's a lot of... Right, because there's a lot of people like, oh, you know, you just have your religion as a crutch because you can't deal with the difficulties of life and yada, 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 yada.
Unexpected destination, a miserable slave.
You know, so that you become a...
You didn't expect... That person didn't expect to be where they are. And is he looking at them as a coward and a slave?
Yeah.
A slave because they're...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Which, of course... here's my thing. You come into the world completely dependent on other people. And... Most of us, 9 out of 10 of us are going to end up in some sort of relationship. And in those relationships, you depend on the other person to get you through certain things.
Yeah.
So this idea that, you know, people who go to religion are weak because they need help, to me it's like, yeah, I mean, you can call it weak. I mean, I don't care. I you know, as the scripture says, I'll gladly boast in my weaknesses if it emphasizes God's strength. So I don't care about that. But for me, it's like, it's not even that spiritual. To me, it's just pragmatic. It's like, there's no stage in your life when you're completely independent.
Right. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I made this weird mixture to help with heartburn, but it's very disgusting. So I just want people to be prepared if I'm making weird faces. So carry on, babe.
Unreal. But my point is, there's no time in your life when you're completely independent.
Right.
You know, and so... but I get the idea, but I think a lot of people deceive themselves into believing that they can handle life by themselves, independent of whatever. And to me, it's like, okay, well, you don't have religion, but you have something, I guarantee you. Like, this guy has music.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
it's true.
It's like, okay... you don't have God. You don't have gods. You don't use God, so you know you're you know, independent and such. But you have an outlet in music. It's the same thing. It's the concept is you can't make it out on your own.
Yeah,
you
you're
still need something
or someone else to get you through. Yeah.
Right. So I don't have a problem with saying, of course I'm relying on God to get me through life. Of course. Yes, I'm too weak to make it through life on my own. I happily admit that. Right. And I've always been that way since I've been born.
Oh, yeah, me too.
So it's like, yeah, but at the same time, it's like, I think there's a lot of really difficult cognitive dissonance happening when you're in the state where you know you need some sort of help, but you've lived a certain way your entire life, and now you're in some tragic situation. So even the impulse toward help, a lot of people will like aggressively try to cut that off, because it's like when I think it's Christopher Hitchens was dying. He was dying of cancer or something, and he basically said, if I convert on my deathbed, it's because I was not in my right mind.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, so he was trying to cut that, and he didn't trust himself not to, you know, whatever.
Did he?
I mean, Allahu Alam. I mean, I don't know.
Well, I didn't know if there was something public that...
Yeah, but there's no public, like, Christopher Hitchens converted type of thing.
Okay.
No. But none of us knows in those last moments, you know.
No, yeah, I'd agree with that.
If Jesus doesn't show up and say, hey,
right,
you want to come here or nah? You trying to chill or... You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what happens in those last few moments, you know? So, but... So I get it. Like, he's basically saying, I'm not going to turn religion now when I've been, you know, this way the whole time. You know, I respect that. Like, I see what he's saying. Like, you can't be mad at him for that.
Do you think that's what this guy is saying? Or what the Hitchens guy?
No, he's saying, I won't believe in salvation. I will not.
Yeah, but I don't
shouldn't be
necessarily thinking that that's him saying, like, I've believed like this way all my life and I'm not going to change now. But, like, well, I don't know. He said the coward thing, so.
Yeah. I wait for my condemnation in the cold flame.
Yes, but that could be the, that whole, you're punishing yourself. Like, I don't deserve it, so I wait for my, you know, in the cold flame, stuff like that. But you, I don't see you saying the coward, miserable slave thing if that was the mindset.
Well, but I think what you're saying is true too, though. I think they're both true at the same time. I think he's saying he won't forgive himself.
Yeah.
Personally, and I think he's saying I'm not going to turn to God either.
Right.
You know, I'm not gonna do that because I shouldn't be saved or whatever. And if you need that to get you through, then go for it. I just think you're a coward. Basically, is what I think he's saying.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't let go of what I'm seeing in the other parts where it sounds like he doesn't feel like he should even have that, like, you know, like he feels like he should be punished for whatever, you know, whether it's he didn't see the signs of the person or he didn't, you know.
Well, it says right there, the past will never change, too late to be saved.
Right.
Right? Which is kind of a double because obviously whoever died, there's nothing he can do to save that person.
Right.
But then there's parts of him that died with that person and he's, that in his mind, that's it.
Yeah.
Of course, that was written in 2001, so I'd like to see what they're writing now. You know what I mean? Like, it would be very interesting.
Light the night divides, pride I denied. What is he saying there? I just like the way that it sounded.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I'm pretty sure that this is not their first language, but the rhyme schemes are pretty tight, and the concepts this guy's got I'm always fascinated when people have this crazy grasp of the English language.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, people make fun of other people. I saw this meme one time. It was like, yeah, of course. People make fun of other people for not being able to, you know, enunciate English properly. It's like, hello, dum-dum, that's your second language.
Oh, I know.
Like, how many languages do you know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so, it's mind-blowing to me. Like, I'm pretty sure this dude's Japanese, but he's got that English language down like a boss. Mm-hmm. Night divides the light, I think is what he's saying. Die with the hope of life and despair. Death you're dying, life you're losing. Spiritual suicide, life I denied. Light the night divides. So things are going good, but then something is going to come in there to divide the light that you had. Wow. Which is interesting because, like, you have light, and then you have night, and then you have light again, which is kind of like, light is things are going good in this world, night happens, which is a death, and then there's the other light, which is the light that people go to after death. But now he's divided because he's still stuck in darkness, but the other person has moved on.
Yeah, okay.
You know, so it's that's a crazy line, light the night divides, you know, because he's not saying that night consumes totally the night.
Right.
He's just saying that it divides it. It splits it in two.
Right.
And so that's a pretty powerful line. And then he says spiritual suicide. I mean, think about it. Like, let's just have a premise for a moment that Christianity is true. Mm-hmm. And if God is offering you salvation and forgiveness in the death of Jesus, and you purposely deny it, I mean, then that would be a form of spiritual suicide. That would be spiritual suicide, you know? Now I set fire to cremate the treasure that will never be the same. I won't wait for the fate lost in this shade. Past will never change, too late to be saved. Yeah, I guess he had to cremate the person. We had to do that with one of our family members, and that was that's pretty crazy. It's a pretty crazy thought. Yeah. Both thoughts are crazy to me. I remember just sitting down for hours, like, thinking about that concept, that person that I knew is now reduced to ash.
Yeah.
And it was just a crazy idea. Crazy concept. I don't know, like, going out and kind of like, it's weird, like, yeah, this is gonna sound really terrible, but, like, when you're dying, when you're when you age, you're kind of already disintegrating. You're already going back into the dust.
Yeah.
And so it's like somebody lives to the age of 85.
Yeah.
Them being cremated or going to the ground doesn't hit me the same way as somebody that's 35.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Or 40, which was the age she was. And the concept of that
I think that's how old my uncle was. Too.
young, vibrant person who's full of life. And again, it's like, I hate, this is very morbid, but this is one of the things I was like working through. If somebody's dying of cancer, you're already seeing them disintegrate in front of you, so it's kind of, there's kind of like a bridge between that and that.
Yeah.
But when they just die randomly out of nowhere in like the peak of their, vigor, and then you have to imagine that big person that was such a big part of your life is now confined to this. It was just a very difficult thing to process mentally for me.
Yeah. And the fact that, when my uncle had cancer, you're right, we watched him disintegrate. It was a horrible thing. You don't want to see that. I mean, it's very painful. It's hard to watch. You feel you want to do something. There's nothing you can do, and they change. They don't even look like themselves after. But there's something like, well, he did the chemo. He tried to eat healthy. You know what I mean? Like we did what we could do. He did what he could do, but it still ended that way. But when it's one of those situations where it's a suicide, that makes it a lot different, because I'm sure you feel that feeling of like, this didn't have to go this way. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah, it was just extremely difficult to process that she was.
Yep. I would have a real hard time with either one. If something happened to you, put you in the ground or cremate you, both of them would be extremely difficult.
I have no future for which I would live. I live in the dreadful past to forgive. My sin spawned by inner feelings I have killed. I cry out of the loneliness to be filled. What I want is a punishment demon inside of me. Now I see no way to embrace this reality. Mm-hmm. Now I see no reason for me to be. Mm-hmm. So that's a crazy line. My sin spawned by inner feelings I have killed. So he numbed himself, and then that gave rise to other forms of sin.
Yep.
Which this guy has a real keen awareness of.
Cry out of the loneliness to be filled.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, but that's the thing where it's like, okay, yeah, man, do life on your own. You don't need God. Well, he's extremely honest, this guy. Mm-hmm. Unbelievably honest, but he's also a very complex writer. Because you can miss a lot of my sin spawned by inner feelings I have killed. Mm-hmm. So in order to get through life, like with the loss of this person, you have to kill certain parts of your heart, and then when you do that, though, it leaves you open to other sin.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely true. I was listening. We always talk about guys who, come back from combat situations or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then there's a lot of things you have to do emotionally to yourself to survive in that environment, especially around your boys, because if one of your friends dies, you can cry, you can be angry, you can throw shit around in your whatever, but like the real deep stuff that you feel, especially if you're in theater, you can't have that conversation. Mm-hmm. It's all about, we got to go make them feel like how we feel, blah, blah, blah. So when these guys come back, you're not, and then your wife has a whatever, you become a very unfeeling person, and you actually do bad things to people, and not in the sense of you're doing bad things, you're just an unfeeling person because you've had to do this to survive, and it's just not natural.
Yeah.
So now, the things that a normal person would say, what a jerk, like the kid's puppy died, what's wrong with you? And you're like, get another one.
Yeah.
And like before you went off, you would have been a very good, sensitive dad, but now and then you get mad. That's the other thing is people don't realize, you get mad at people for being upset about
The puppy
what
dying.
you consider to be dumb shit.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. So it's like, oh, a puppy died, you're crying. Are you serious?
Gosh.
You know. So, but
Well, that's even worse.
because you've hardened your heart to deal with the exigencies of warfare, and you come back home, and then everybody's complaining about all this normal stuff. You actually get resentful. So then you start doing bad things to people, you know. And so, you know, we're talking to one of the kids a couple nights ago about, you know, they had issues with one of their parents because their parents abandoned them or whatever. And I said, yeah, I get it. And there's certain decisions that she was making emotionally to deal with what happened with her mom.
Yep.
And I said, I get it, and it's not my business to tell you. That's between you and Allah. But if you don't, you're going to end up hurting people that have nothing to do with it.
Right.
You know? So that's a very, very, very self-aware
So
line. My sins spawned by inner feelings I have killed. You have your emotions there for a reason, and if you deaden them, you are absolutely 100% guaranteed to harm other people. People, and 9 times out of 10, it's people that you love and that you have no intention of harming.
Oh yeah.
But you know, it happens. It's a tough lesson. Everybody, you know, anybody that goes through trauma has to learn that. You know.
No, you're completely right, and that is what happens, and it's hard to, you know, I think sometimes people don't even, I don't know, I think people realize when they're doing it, but then it's hard to get out of that.
It's extremely difficult.
Yeah.
Because what happens is, you know, then, you know, people look at you like you're from Pluto or something. People, how'd you say that? Why are you angry? You married her. Everybody's horrified and whatever.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah.
It's so it creates this whole cycle of guilt, and then you get resentful that nobody understands you, and then it's a pretty terrible situation to be. It's just, death is, it's such, you know, 1 Corinthians 15, Paul calls it the enemy. It's the last and final enemy. And one of the things I used to say all the time, you know, anytime we're teaching the Bible or whatever, I always say death is not natural.
Yeah.
You know,
I was just thinking about that. That's funny.
It's not natural.
Yeah.
And the fact that we've never been able to adjust to it ever as human beings says to me that we were not made for that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Childbirth is natural. You know?
Yeah.
Like, it's a very traumatic event. I mean, people die.
Right?
That childbirth is very, very natural. Death isn't. So, you know, but on the one hand, all of us have become, I'm talking about the human family, have become so traumatized by death that we, you know, like, if you're a prisoner of war, but you came from another country, you know that there's a better place. But if a person was born in a POW camp, and you're telling them, yeah, they're gonna come, they're gonna get us out of here, you get 3 squares a day, you get a hot shower, you get your own room, your own bed, nobody wakes you up, nobody beats the hell out of you every day, da-da-da-da. Well, if you were born in that situation, they'd be like, that's too good to be true. Oh, really? Oh, there's this mythical land called America where every time you're hungry, you have something to eat. Is that so? Yeah.
Right.
So if you were born in a POW camp, you would think that when a person describes America and life in America, that they're just saying that because they want to escape. Because that's the only reality they know.
Yeah.
But if you're somebody who has seen the other reality,
Then you would know that.
then you'd say, look, the reason you're so miserable in this POW camp was because you were not made to live as a POW.
Right.
So it's not that so the very reason that you're saying it's too good to be true is the very reason that it is true.
Right.
So I don't believe that death is natural. And
Yeah, I remember when we first had that conversation because I had brought Selah to a funeral or something, and you were like, I don't know, you were asking me like why I had brought her, and I was like, well, this is before we were together. I said, well, I mean, death is a part of life. Like it's the natural thing. It's the natural cycle of life, and so I don't want to shield that from her, and so she doesn't, you know.
Right.
And you were like, is it though? And I was like, what? why is he always doing this to me? And then we talked about it. It's like, no, that's true. You know, originally we weren't dying like that.
Right.
That came into the picture, but no, that's not. It's not natural. It's completely unnatural, and that's why it's so difficult.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. So we're all in this POW camp. Mm-hmm. You get a lot of people that believe that the other world is too good to be true, and it's interesting, and that's why they don't believe. You know,
yeah.
I get it. There's a lot of people who are just very cognitive and like, where's the proof of this? Where's the empirical data? Da, da, da. And I, you know, to whatever degree that's genuine, I get it. But there's a lot of people that would love to believe.
Yep.
But can't because it's just too good to be true. Like I could be with everybody that I love, and it would just, you know, because all of us have this subliminal sort of, there's gonna come a day when we're separated. You know. So anyway, it's a good song. I hope the big homie found some peace. I didn't see anything from Damon that the guy who wrote this is dead. So inshallah, things go well with the big homie and he gets to meet whoever he lost in Jannat al-Firdaus with the Ein Sof and everybody's partying. It was really interesting sonically because it was like,
yeah, I was just gonna say that
it didn't sound like a black.
No,
instrumentally it didn't sound black metal.
Nope. And then it had that little spot in the middle that was kind of like, yeah. That was really interesting. I loved what it sounded like.
That took me out of nowhere. I was like, what?
Yeah.
What's occurring?
Yeah. But it was weird because it was kind of like, it kind of had like a sad sound to it, but it also had kind of like a hopeful sound to it.
Yeah, and a little bit epic too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then it went back to, you know, talking about the, you know, wanting them to come back. How did it say that? Bring back the dead.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's a high score for me because I actually really liked it and I felt like he communicated and put his heart into it. It made me, you know, I felt stuff while it was going on. So it's actually a 9.8 for me.
Well, it's really difficult to use. Obviously, I think McGuire is the best at it, but to have like deaf vocals that communicates like real pathos and pain. You know, because a lot of, I don't know, to me a lot of it is about I'm the devil type stuff, you know, but this is like this, you could obviously feel it.
Yeah, and this is the type of deaf vocals that I don't really like.
Right.
Like it didn't sound grungy enough.
Yeah.
But I still felt like he communicated, so that's why I rated it so high, was because I'm like, even though that's not like my style,
This guy,
he did a damn good job.
he's a master lyricist too.
Yeah. What are you giving it?
I'm gonna have to give it a 10. Partly because it reminds me of the song that I wrote. And you discovered it here along with everybody else because I never said anything about that song
I told
ever.
you guys, I find it out new things.
Anyway, it's a 10 for me.
All right.
Hopefully the big homie finds some peace. Talk to me, whoever you are. Huh? Vin out.
Sorry out.
Gone.